Before I begin the video, I'd like to say thank you to the following channel members. Now running in my lobby, Fluffy Tough Knuffles, Elias IDK, Annette Fisher, Steve Hughes, and the Yabbick. Click the join button, become a decent human today, and gain that title because you click the join button, and sign up today. That being said, hello. What's up, everybody? So, we're going deeper into the lore and story of SCP, and it's going to be about SCP-173. So we already saw the origin story, apparently, but we haven't seen the complete story, apparently. So it's SCP-173, the complete story by SCP Explained. So let's see what's going on here, shall we?
SCP-173. It's a peculiar statue with a bad attitude and a penchant for strangulation and snapping necks, though only if nobody has maintained unbroken eye contact with it. Some know it as the sculpture, some know it as the peanut, some know it as probably the most important anomaly of all, considering it's the one that got this whole crazy affair started. But today we're here to ask an important question. Do any of us really know it at all? After all, its original file is hardly comprehensive. You might even venture to say it's one of the most enigmatic SCPs out there, despite its popularity. But today we're taking a dive beneath the concrete rebar and Krylon brand spray paint to give you the real inside scoop on SCP-173. We've broken into the SCP Foundation archive and found 10 different important files on this infamous vertebrate vandal, and we're going to explore each and every one of them with you today. As you can expect from the Weird and Wild SCP Foundation, they cover possible pasts, presents, and futures, and some of them will naturally contradict, but that just gives you more of an opportunity to immerse yourself and compare them. We often like to believe that the real truth is somewhere in between, so make sure you pay attention to every detail throughout. So let's get the show on the road and explore our 10 documents of interest for SCP-173 in hopes of finally getting the complete story. And of course, don't blink.
Okay, so apparently there's multiple different stories? Okay, I'm guessing we're dealing with multiversal or something. I don't know.
And 1. Crunch. Where better to start than the mind of the sinister sculpture itself? Crunch gives us an insight into the private thoughts of this otherwise pretty uncommunicative monster and reveals a great deal about its relationship with its favorite activity, snapping the necks of anyone who dares look away from it. In Crunch, SCP-173 speaks in very basic, broken, Rorschach-esque English, saying things like,
"Room dark, people gone, can move. I happy, trapped for years, kept by a man for research, left alone in room, left to scratch at walls, left to rot and die unless needed, specimen for research, trapped by self, never seen by others, never spoken, listen but never speak, see but never seen, made of rock when others come, free when they not look, prisoner when they look back. I hate."
SCP.
Okay, so it talks? I didn't know that. What if, like, SCP-173 was, like, made by somebody and, like, in their head they were, like, better, you know, they were, like, a failed artist or something. Nobody liked to look at their stuff. And they were like, you know, better nobody look away from it this time or they'll get their neck snapped or something like that. And that's how it was born, is some crazy stuff like, maybe it was something crazy like that. I wouldn't put it past the SCP universe, really.
173 hates and resents its captors for keeping it confined. In its own mind, Crunch, how it refers to the snapping of its victim's neck, is the only thing that gives its life a sense of meaning. It will continue to crunch for as long as it's contained, because thanks to the SCP Foundation, crunch is all it has left these days. Document 2. How 173 got to Site-19. This semi-origin story is one that the fans of this channel will be familiar with. While it doesn't give us any insight into why this nasty pile of concrete actually exists, it does inform us why it's currently our problem. SCP-173 isn't actually an anomaly native to our universe. However, its native dimension was destroyed by the beast trapped in SCP-2317, the Devourer of Worlds. As is standard procedure for a universe about to experience an XK-class end-of-the-world scenario, the Foundation's Department of Extra-Dimensional Affairs swooped in and collected all the valuable anomalies before the world went down the tube. One of these was, of course, SCP-173, which was vacated to Site-19 in our dimension in 1993. Do you think we would have been better off if we just left him for the Devourer of Worlds to take care of? Let us know what you think about that down in the comments. Document 3. The Black Moon. Sometimes you can be your own worst enemy. If the file on SCP-001, the Black Moon, is to be believed, the SCP Foundation may actually be behind the creation of this ornery objet d'art. Though in the Foundation's defense, it was in service of potentially fighting off a far more deadly foe, the ominous extra-dimensional being known only as the Black Moon. One attempt to stop the Black Moon from destroying the universe was known as the Key Project, which involved creating a number of items linked to the Black Moon via conceptual engineering that would hopefully nullify its effects.
Okay, now the most important question is, how the heck does 173 fight against something like that? How are they going to use it against it? What are they going to do? Put in a rocket, launch it to the Black Moon, and hope it does something? This is so crazy. This is just so crazy.
Needed the following qualities: an inability to act while under observation, a hostility towards human life, and the capacity to end conscious life if given the opportunity. Those three descriptions fit SCP-173 to a T, and it was considered the project's greatest success. However, it sadly wasn't enough to actually stop the horrific rampage of the Black Moon. The researcher managing the case, Dr. Moto, was so ashamed by the failure that he willingly entered SCP-173's containment chamber and got his neck snapped in the process. Document 4. Conclusions regarding D-173-2263 incident. This document finds its origins in the video analysis of a Foundation researcher with an incredibly powerful name, Dr. Delano Smasher. Dr. Smasher had closely observed video footage of SCP-173 killing several members of D-Class personnel and began formulating a new theory about how 173 actually killed its victims. Dr. Smasher theorized, after all, that something with arms as short as SCP-173 and no opposable digits would have trouble effectively strangling or snapping human necks. According to Dr. Smasher's observations, SCP-173 doesn't actually make any physical contact with its victims. Instead, the victims feel oddly compelled to look at the creature if ever nothing is looking at it. Their eyes will snap open, and their heads will twist at any angle they need to in order to look at the creature in the eyes. It's the sheer force of this sudden change that often leads to snapping necks and bruised faces for the victims, not the sculpture itself physically causing the damage. If Dr. Smasher is to be believed, the sculpture is deadly purely because it simply demands to be looked at by somebody at all times. Document 5. Anniversary. This brings us nicely to our next document, Anniversary.
So essentially, if you look away, your body's motor control functions are overridden by SCP-173 to try and look at it, and that's how it's like, or because everything's overridden, including the, control that our brain has over our body so we don't tear ourselves apart. Or something like that. I think am I at least warm? That's about my understanding-ish of it.
Positing a different theory for the mysterious creation of SCP-173. This comes from the perspective of said possible creator, an anomalous entity that we'll call the Artist. Much like the unfortunate Dr. Moto, the Artist, an intelligent being that can seemingly become invisible and intangible at will, considered SCP-173 to be its finest creation. It viewed SCP-173 as a perfect representation of humanity. It does nothing but bleed and defecate, and if anyone refuses to pay attention to it, it kills them. It was a perfect symbol of the Artist's contempt for humanity. It even easily snuck into Site-19 to visit SCP-173 on the anniversary of its creation, and found the Foundation's lack of appreciation for this fine creation. As an act of revenge for keeping his creation locked up and out of sight for so long, he gave the sculpture permission just once to kill someone who looked away, even if others were still looking at it. For SCP-173, this would be considered a wonderful little treat. Document 6. Her Masterpiece. This next document, known as Her Masterpiece, suggests that SCP-173 was created by a very different...
You know what, that last one kind of lines up with my idea of whoever made it. You notice that? So I wasn't the first one that thought of something like that, right?
Different kind of artist. While this potential creator of SCP-173 was somehow able to produce an anomaly, she was not anomalous herself, just motivated by rage and revenge. She'd been pregnant in the past, but lost a baby due to the actions of a man whom she considered her greatest enemy. She vowed to make art from his demise. The woman murdered her enemy with a baseball bat before using concrete and rebar to build SCP-173 around him, almost as a way to mock her fallen foe. However, like something out of a horror movie, this act of murderous creation somehow imbued SCP-173 with life. When this spiteful artist had eventually finished the creation and started to walk away, it claimed her as its first victim. The last thing she remembered hearing was the sound of concrete scraping against the ground, and then a nasty crunch before everything went dark. Document 7. Regarding the statue.
Dude, that's dark. That's super dark.
From one tragedy to another, the document regarding the statue shows the journey of researcher Marcus Silburn from idealistic young employee to full-on mental breakdown after trying and failing to gain control of SCP-173. He entered the SCP-173 project with bright eyes and big ideas about how to contain the sculpture, suggesting that the human element be removed entirely in order to reduce risk to Foundation personnel. He proposed ideas like introducing a sprinkler and drainage system to the chamber and using a sentient AI and remote viewing technology to keep SCP-173 immobilized. However, he was then enlightened to some frustrating and frightening facts about SCP-173. In the absence of actual present human observation, the same buildup of feces and blood that the creature somehow excretes builds up in any technology used to control or contain it. It destroys the circuit boards of AIs, takes flying camera drones out of the sky, and even degrades the locks on its chamber doors, leading to the brutal death of a janitor in the hall. Researcher Silburn advanced far enough through the ranks of the Foundation to be in direct communication with Dr. Jack Bright, the director of Site-19. After his final attempt at containing the creature without direct human observation resulted in a containment breach and the death of 12 people, Silburn was moved off the SCP-173 case after breaking down and begging for permission to terminate the anomaly. Permission was denied. Dr. Bright closed the document with a note to a member of the O5 Council reading, "It can be surmised that our conclusion was correct. The object, for whatever reason, desires or requires human attention and will not be denied it." Document 8. A Chance at Freedom. We once again return to the direct perspective of SCP-173, but this differs vastly from the perspective of SCP-173's inner monologue presented in Crunch. According to the document entitled A Chance at Freedom, SCP-173 was actually an incredibly intelligent agent of espionage, sent from another dimension along with its unknown cadet, though the cadet is heavily implied to be SCP-096. This piece details a containment breach from SCP-173's perspective, as it is shown looking down on humanity and its primitive technology. It laments the fact that it lost its weapon during the interdimensional transfer, and it seethes that if it still had its weapon, this all would have played out very differently. Despite conceding the fact that it underestimated the humans, which was the main reason it ended up in containment, it spends the majority of the document touting its own superiority, until one of the SCP-131, the iBots, turned up and froze it in place. The degree to which SCP-173 hates the iBots cannot be overstated. Document 9. Experiences with SCP-682. Of course, no full-story video on SCP-173 would be complete without a discussion of the SCP-682 cross-tests. A number of researchers, though particularly the very persistent Dr. Carlson, decided to use SCP-173 in various manners, in hopes of finally doing in that damn lizard. In their first engagement, 682 seemed rightfully frightened of 173, and when a sniper shot its eyes out, 173 immediately snapped its neck. Of course, it grew back a series of sniper-proof eyes not long after. Someone next suggested SCP-173 being sent in with a picture of 096 taped to its chest, though this was rejected as being ridiculous and an incredibly dangerous idea to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Bright. The researchers then went after SCP-682 with high-precision blades, cutting it to pieces, each of which became autonomously dangerous enemies. SCP-173 then began to murder each of those blobs of the mutated tissue, until it stopped when a D-Class was sent in to stare at it, while the rest of 682 regenerated. SCP-173 was transported back to its cell, but there was a brief power outage during transit, leading 173 to kill a number of the staff transporting it. This test was still considered a step in the right direction. After 682 was once again shrunk by a different anomaly, SCP-173 was released into its chamber. At first it appeared that 173 had actually killed 682, but a week later it returned, having reconstituted itself from matter that had been splattered on 173 after it had been brutalized, making this test, once again, a failure. Dr. Carlson requested the resources to conduct one more cross-test, but this request was denied. A member of the O5 Council affixed a request simply saying, "Stop it, Carlson, please. Stop it, Carlson. Get some help. Stop it, Carlson." Document 10. Revised entry.
Gosh, this is just so insanely OP in so many ways. The crocodile can't die. SCP-173, the sculpture, can't be destroyed or killed. As far as anyone knows, because I don't think anyone's tried. It's just so insanely just OP. Kind of like Brandon Peters' books. Brandon Peters is on Discord.
Oh, right. The time SCP-173 literally caused an XK-class end-of-the-world scenario. In the document Revised Entry, we get a frightening glimpse into a possible future world, where SCP-173 develops a terrifying new anomalous ability, multiplication. We don't know exactly how it happened, But here, the sculpture somehow developed the ability to make exact copies of itself. And what's more, every time one of these copies is produced, the collective SCP-173 hive mind gets stronger, allowing them to think tactically and slowly wipe out North America, even destroying any potential Foundation countermeasures, then ripping and snapping through anyone or anything that dared oppose. In the end, the world decided to take the nuclear option, literally, and blow away North America with nuclear bombardment in order to stop the SCP-173 army from spreading to the rest of the world and killing everyone. However, this attempt didn't actually work, as SCP-173s were spotted in Wales over in the UK, leading to a second nuclear bombardment. It continued like this until there were no human beings left to push the big red button anymore, and only the endless legions of SCP-173 remained. There is one bright side to this otherwise pretty bleak situation though. A group of around 150 SCP-173s ganged up on SCP-682 and poured to shreds. Somewhere out there, Dr. Carlson is probably smiling. Now go check out SCP-173 Origin Story, How 173 Got to Site-19, and the iPods.
Okay, so there we go, folks. There we go. SCP-173, the complete story. Interesting. Very interesting. What did y'all think? What did y'all think? And this is from SCP Explained Story and Animation. I'll put a link to the channel in the video somewhere. Very interesting. So there's a lot more to it than most people would think, I guess. And it doesn't directly crunch. And also, it could turn into like a K-class event or something. Gosh, this universe is insane and crazy. Just, it's amazing that the SCP Foundation can do any containment at all, really. But yeah, what are y'all thoughts on this? Y'all let me know. Y'all let me know. Alright, y'all know what time it is. You like me, you like this content, you like the kind of content I make, then please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Then hit the real subscribe button called notification bell so you get videos when I post them up. Or actually, better yet, you want to get notifications guaranteed, get into the Discord. There will be a link in the description box down below. That being said, be good. Be safe. Make good life for yourselves. And let's continue down the SCP, rabbit hole, shall we? Let's keep the SCP train going for as long as we can. That being said, Blastcapbadger out.